Hi, I'm Sara Levin, the Artful Inker, an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the United States. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to share 3 cards using the Feels Like Home stamp set that is part of the celebration offerings from Stampin' Up! With a minimum $50 product purchase in my store through September 30th. And you can find a link to my store in the description below. And use that if you're in the United States. So I've got my stamp on my Stamparatus, and I'm inking with StazOn. Be sure to pull the plastic cover off. Don't throw that away. You do want to keep it for the life of your ink pad. It helps to keep it from drying out. Just inking all over, and then we're just going to go right ahead and close and give this a rub all over. And I've got it in my Stamparatus in case I need to ink a second time. That looks terrific. So let's take this on out of here and move this out of the way. Now you do want to be sure and clean your stamp with StazOn cleaner, as that is a permanent ink and regular stamp cleaner won't clean it off. Next, for this simple stamping card, I want to add some color, and so I'm going to use the soft pastels, one of them, the blue, that can be found in the annual catalog from Stampin' Up. And I'm just going to take the edge of this and create a kind of rough outline in the blue. And I'm going to add a little height here. And then I'm going to take my water painter. Let me squeeze that and get it started. You want it damp but not wet, so I'm going to brush it out a little bit. And then just stroke across here. And that is going to be the easiest washy kind of watercolory background that I think I've ever created. Okay, and that's it. And now we're ready to put the card together. So let me just check. And we're going to start with a base that's 5.5 by 8.5 and scored at 4 1/4. And I've got a strip of Misty Moonlight here that is 1/4 inch wide. Oop, got to get enough glue on there, but not too much. And we're going to put that down here at the bottom inside of our card, just to give it a little color in here. And this is, as you can see, not quite the full width. I like that look. And then we're going to add our mat of Misty Moonlight. And our mat is, let me make sure, right, 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. And that strip is just that extra bit cut off the end of this piece. So a great way to use those little strips that you cut off is to accent the inside of your card. If you're looking for more ways to use those strips, I have a video with 3 strip techniques. Okay, and so this leaves us with just a narrow border all the way around. And then let's flip this over. The nice thing about this technique with the soft pastels is that because you're not using much water, there's little to no warping of your cardstock. And so it makes it very easy to be able to use basic white instead of a heavier cardstock or your watercolor paper. And there we go, just a quick and easy card using the Feels Like Home. Let me set this aside and we'll get ready to do a second card. And for this second card, we are again going to be using that Feels Like Home stamp set. And again, I'm using it on my Stamparatus. And this time I'll be using Memento ink. We used Stays On the first time because we were using it with water. And since Memento is a water-based ink, our treatment would have made the ink bleed. Okay. And just going to, might leave that. Okay, so let's take this out of here. And now we're going to color. And I'm using Stampin' Blends, so let me zoom in here so that you'll be able to see more closely what I'm going to do. And I'm going to start with the door, and I'm using my Dark and Light Misty Moonlight and using the bullet tips, and I'm just going to come around the edge of the door. I find it easier if I turn for those straight lines. And if straight lines give you a bit of a problem, I'm just going to dot some in here. You can use your finger to give you a little more support. And just coming in here. Okay, so there's my outline. And then let's use my brush tip to start with. And not really blending in here. I just want to color it in. And I do want that deeper shade on the outside. And I'm trying just to do one pass of the color so that I don't completely hide the color that's the grain, that's the word that I want, that's underneath. Because you can intensify even the light by going back and forth over it. Now, at this point, I'm going to switch to the bullet tip on this one and outline my panels in the light Misty Moonlight. Just like doors have those, you know, the panels on the doors. And so this door has that look. And then I'm going to go back to the first one and do that again. And by taking the time to do this, instead of coloring over the same place repeatedly while you're there, the ink kind of dries, and then you can go back to it and you can intensify it that way. So then I'm going to come over my outline here. And again, back up here at the top. And let's see, right down the side here. And then I get some nice shading. Okay, let's put these aside. And next I want my crumb cakes. So I've got my dark, and make sure this is my light crumb cake. And I'm going to start with bullet tips again. with the dark, and I'm going to come in here with the dark, and then right across this little craggy look here, and then up in this corner. And then I'm going to start with the bullet tip as I come out from the leaves here with the light, and then we'll just stay with that and blend that on across. Making our edges a little darker and the center a little lighter by pulling that way. And now I'm going back in with the dark, just checking to make sure I'm still in camera here. And again with the dark, we'll add a little bit of shadow from those leaves hanging over. Okay, and let's do a little dark here where the lintel hangs over. And then we've got a little bit of that craggy look going on here, and so we'll deepen that with our marker, and then let's selectively color in here just a little bit. Okay, and then we're going to use the dark for the matte down here. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and color part of my basket here. So I'm going to outline it and then kind of put the basket lines in, and then come back with the light crumb cake. Same thing on this basket. We'll just come around and down with the dark and kind of put in a couple of stripes for the weaving, and then fill with the light crumb cake. And then let's cap these up and move them out of the way. And next I'm going to use my old olive and then my light granny apple green, and we're going to color the tree over here. And I'm going to start in with the dark, light old olive rather, it's not dark. And this is easy coloring. You just need to kind of scribble in at the outline areas. Very forgiving. Okay, almost done. And then I'm going to come back and just add a little bit of variation. Just pick a few spots and scribble this in. There's no real rhyme or reason. It just helps to give it a little bit of detail. And then we're going to color this leaf down here. I want to start with this light granny apple green. And then I'm going to come in with the old olive over that and give it some shading and definition in here. Okay, and while I'm here, I'm going to touch in some leaves on some of this. And up here, I'm going to switch to the Granny Apple Green. Okay, let's cap this up and move it out of the way and bring in my light polished pink, and we're going to add some flowers here to some of this, and same thing up here, we're going to add some flowers. Let's put that out of the way, and now I want my dark Granny Apple Green, and we're going to color the pots. And then finish with the light. And same thing, we'll do the dark here, and then finish with the light. And then let's add some dark on this one. This is very easy coloring, just taking the time to do that. And then I missed the leaves in this front planter, so we're just going to add the light old olive for some contrast. And then let's go ahead and put in our wall, and we're using dark and light gray granite, just checking to see which is which. And so I'm going to use the dark on these lines and give them some shading around. So I'm going over the lines, but then kind of making them more. Okay, and then just pull in with our light gray granite. And I think I'm going to switch to the brush tip for this. It gives a little lighter hand. And I'm just trying to follow the kind of shape that the stamp has given us. So we'll color in these places so that they're not bright white. And now let's do the same thing over here, accenting these little stone or brick lines that we've got over here. And while those dry just a moment, I'm going to color in between my tree here. And I'm not making a full fill. A little bit of white sometimes helps to work as an accent. Okay, and then let's do our boards here at the front. And I'm just going to hit some of these lines with the dark gray granite, not worrying about getting every one, but it just helps to add some texture. Okay, and then we'll just color across here. Okay, let's cap these up. And I'm going to hit some of these a second time with that gray granite. Okay, and now let's put our flowers in on our bicycle, and that's going to be in Dark Daffodil Delight. So they're kind of spilling over that basket. And I've got my dark smoky slate. And just a light hand on that seat. And let's come around on our tire. And let's look at this one. Okay, and I know that a tire might have a white wall on some tires, but I liked the look of the dark there. And then our bicycle is going to be Granny Apple Green. And I'm going to start with the dark. And part way down here, I'm using the bullet tip again. And then let's use our light Granny Apple Green to come across the back of the fender there, and the little fender on the back here. And even though that might normally be silver there, I wanted that extra bit of color. Okay. Now let's put this card together. So I've got a piece of thick basic white, and I need to zoom back out. The thick basic white is 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. And I've got a piece of the Harvest Meadow designer paper. You can find that in the July through December mini catalog. And we're just going to add dimensionals to this piece. And it is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. Let's pull the dimensional backings off. This is one of my favorite designs in this pack of designer paper. And let's put dimensionals on this piece as well. Put those out of the way. Okay, straighten this up on my grid paper and put this down. I just love the way that pattern looks as a frame. And there we are with our second card. Let me set this aside and we'll get ready for the third card. And for our final Feels Like Home card, we're going to start with that same doorway and a piece of basic white. Let me just put my magnets in place here and ink up our stamp. Going to use my finger here and hope I don't regret it. That looked a little blobby. Okay, and I would like a little more ink on these leaves right here. Okay, let's take this out. And we're going to do a little bit of coloring again. So I'm going to start with my dark and light crumb cake. Let's just grab the bullet tips. So I want this right in here, which is the dark, and going to use the dark on this basket in a couple of places, and then fill in with the light. And same thing up here. Here's our dark and some of our light. Okay. Let's close these up and pop them out of the way and go ahead and do our Daffodil Delight. Okay, and then I need some of the polished pink up in here, and we're just doing some random flowers. And then let's bring our greens in, and I'm going to start with the old olive over here on this tree, and we're doing the same thing that we did before and kind of scribbling in some of that color. Okay, and then I want some of this dark old olive on some of these leaves. And then let's come in with the light granny apple green to add a little bit of highlight and texture here. And same thing here, we're going to scribble in some of this in a few places to add some texture. Oh, almost forgot. I want to come and do leaves up in here around our little polished pink flowers. And we're going to do our bicycle tire. And let's do the dark here in the granny apple green, and back to here. Oh, I'm forgetting. Nope, I want this in light granny apple green. And just for a little color, I'm going to go in there. And then I need to come back with my light crumb cake and color in between the spokes here. And then I need my gray granite, and because we've got our wall back here. And then let's color in there. Okay, and now we're going to cut a few things out. So let me grab my paper snips, and I'm going to start with the bicycle. And let's cut the piece that I want of it loose. Okay, and let's trim that up more nicely. And I'm going to trim that right off of there. Okay. Almost done with this piece. I'm trimming in closely. You can choose not to be. Okay, and then I see I missed a place that will show up as gray granite, so I'm just going to come right in here with the light gray granite, and same thing up around here, and set that aside. And then we want our part of our flower basket here. And let's trim this off. And I'm just wiggling my paper to get a little shape. Okay, there's my flower basket. And then let's come over here and let's start this piece. So I want the top of my tree. And just wiggle that paper to give yourself a little bit of shape as you come around some of those leaves, because we're not going to cut all of those little tiny leaf bits. And then if you've done like I have with this and forgotten to add the light gray granite in, then let's grab that and color right in here between our leaves. Okay. And then the final piece that we're going to cut loose is the top of this little flower pot here. And I'm just going to cut it loose from the bigger piece and then come in and do a closer cut. Okay, and then I am going to trim the rim of the pot off since I didn't color it. Okay, let's sweep all of this aside. And so assembling this is really adding to our card number 2. And we're going to add some dimensionals. This one will take a couple of full-size dimensionals, and then a mini will fit up in here. And then we're just going to layer this across this so that it gives it a little more detail. And then this little piece will take one mini. And same thing, we're going to offset it a little bit. then let's do our bicycle piece next. And I've got enough for a full size here. And I think I need a mini at the top. And then I'm going to add multi-purpose glue back here. Now, on this piece, the trick is you need to be thinking about where the corner of that mat is, because that needs to line up-ish. Okay, and then we're going to press that down so that it flattens out into the rest of that bike and it gives it a little perspective. And then finally, we're going to add this little piece up here with our flowers. Okay, and there's our piece that has some dimension. Thanks for stopping in today. If you're in the United States, please do some of your shopping in my Stampin' Up! Store. Of course, the Feels Like Home stamp set is available as a free choice during celebration, and that ends September 30th. Give this video a thumbs up and share it with your card making friends. And when you subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the bell, you'll be notified the next time I upload a video. Have a great day. Bye.